Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of ULMX. ULMX stands for Universal Language Media Exchange. And because language and culture are so tightly related, we're talking about society and culture today, once again, as a part of our major series. What's the plural of series? No one knows every single thing, every grammar rule, every pronunciation correctly in any language. But, well, except for the dictionary. But no person does. So we have a few main series. One is society and culture. Another is English for intermediates. And we do German for beginners as well sometimes. But today we're talking about society and culture. And I just had a conversation with somebody. And just another side note, as I like to mention sometimes, just so that I can remember these things in the future myself. This is one of the first times I had a really solid conversation, not making very many mistakes until, the thing, it's easy to not make mistakes the first 3 minutes, but sometimes when you start trying to explain difficult things, then it gets kind of hard. But if you're introducing yourself and you just go 3 minutes, it's pretty easy not to make any mistakes. But the longer you have to hold that concentration, easier it is to start slipping up. But anyway, 3 years I've been here now in Germany, and most of the time people are like, how long you been here? And then they say, oh wow, you're really good for that amount of time. You've learned a lot of German for that time. And I've always found that to be kind of a backhanded compliment. And I love it when someone says nothing. And this person didn't say anything. But anyway, so I just met someone on the job site for the first time, introduced myself to him, and I learned about how the project's going to go down. He's the project manager, whatever you call it, the foreman on the construction site. And just as part of my introduction to him, I told him my name and stuff. And then once we were done, when I was getting my business card from the car, which I should probably always have on me, but I don't, I gave him the business card, and we were talking a little bit more about just background and stuff, because he was interested, so where are you from? Because I think he waited a good customary amount of time, at least 5 minutes before asking that. And I told him I'm from New Hampshire in the United States, and he just basically threw out the really general question, how do you like it here? And so I try not to give too empty of an answer when I answer this, and I told him I like it. There's almost nowhere else I could imagine living. I really feel that way too. There are a few places in the world I can actually imagine living. The United States, and not everywhere in the United States, but places in the United States. And Germany is one of the few countries where I could say, yeah, I want to live in Germany. The biggest drawback is probably just the winter. I mean, you can't really get around it. But what I wanted to say to him, and what I hadn't found a great example for until just now when I was reviewing my conversation, thinking, yeah, I didn't really express what I wanted to say very well. What do I want to say? And I like using examples. I like using analogies and metaphors and stuff. And in this case, I think it's really well explained with just a simple case study. How things kind of have every coin has 3 sides: heads, tails, and the edge. And I like to stand on the edge. And when people ask me, what do you like better? I like to say, well, I like this about it better, but I like this about that better, and it's a trade-off every time. And so when they ask me something about, you asking how someone likes a country, it's this is a final judgment every single time. If you ever just said, I hate this country. I remember a graffiti on the wall in Weilheim on the Tech. It said, Germany sucks. Just pretty terrible graffiti. Not even shapes of letters. They just wrote it on the wall with spray paint. And whoever really thought that, it's so sad that you've just given your final judgment on a country on a wall in a tiny little village, like out in the countryside, like this Fußgängerunterführung under the Autobahn, and it's just like, I hate Germany. I'm gonna write it right here. Germany sucks. Yeah. Final judgment. And if someone asks you that, like, I mean, even if you have things that you would like to improve or things that you miss, ultimately, if you hate it so much, you shouldn't even be there. So if you're still in the country, you're going to say good. But to explain what I mean, it's like, so this person actually turned out to be from former East Germany. And I always get this confused if I hear like Thüringen. I always think of Tübingen, which is a city in Baden-Württemberg in between like Stuttgart and Ulm. It's kind of like a in-between place, you know? Like Stuttgart, Munich, Ulm is in between. In between Stuttgart and Ulm is Tübingen. Although I don't think that's how they really see their identity. So he's from outside of Germany and kind of sees German, or not from outside of Germany, but there's this different vision, like identity and like perspective that comes with growing up in former East Germany. Yeah, he's like, everything's pretty good. And I like when people actually admit that, because there's a lot of doom and gloom in the media and just in people's rhetoric in general. And it's like, I mean, please. Yeah, of course. The rich are getting richer. Everyone else is getting more, like everyone else always has. Which is like, you're born into a life of working for other people to make money. But it's been like that since the dawn of civilization. Like, I don't know. What did you expect when you were born? What did your parents expect for you when they had you? They should have known you were going to end up in like a semi-forced labor position where if you want any kind of comfort in life, you're going to have to trade like 3/4 of your time, 5 days a week. Like, they should have known, and there's nothing you can do now. You're born. But nothing could really be better. I mean, it could be better, but there aren't really better places you could be, you know? And so he's got this positive mentality about it. And what I wanted to say is, like, it always just cancels out whatever kind of benefit you experience from living in Germany. There's probably going to be a downside to that, and vice versa. If I say I miss something from the USA, I'm not mentioning that there's another side to that coin, which is whatever it is that I miss from the USA, there's some catch that comes along with it that I don't miss at all, that I'm probably not even remembering because I'm only thinking about the part that I liked about it. I do have an example, which I've been waiting to draw up into this video, but it's taken a while to get to that point. So I wanted to recap the conversation I had with him. Basically, what I was trying to say and what I was stumbling and stuttering over was, and just pausing to think, was like, yeah, there are pros and cons. Things get balanced out and like adjusted out. Like, those pros come with cons, and eventually you pretty much break even. And what I said was, like, because the one major thing, like, if there is one thing that I miss from the United States, it's customer service. But what's the downside of customer service? Relatively little customer service culture. So if you're going out to a restaurant in the United States, you get put down at the table and you get processed through like a factory line. Like, everything is timed for you to just have enough time to look at the menu before they come back and then take your order. You know, all these things are customer service, but they're also pushing efficiency through the system to try and make sure that the business is more profitable. In Germany, you might lack a little bit of that attentiveness, like a butler being very, very attentive. They just leave you alone. So what's the benefit to that? You just get to stay and chill at the table as long as you want, if you feel like it. How I tried to say it was, like, there are pros and cons, and what I missed the customer service, for example, but there are good things that come from when you don't try to force other things. So you force the customer service down their throat a little bit, or you force your employees to hold on to this customer service policy. And what happens is you kind of don't serve the customer fully, in the sense that you're not really being 100% hospitality focused, because you would, in that case, let them sit there for as long as they want. That's another part of hospitality. And ultimately, you could see almost anything through this lens. You could see that we have more bike paths in Germany, and that's great. But what it really bites you on is if you do ride on the road, the cars aren't used to riding with you very much, and the road isn't going to be engineered for you to be there. So it comes back, and like, there are two sides to the coin. If you get the bike paths, you're going to have to use the bike paths. That means also on Sunday, when it might be packed, and if you want to go out and just give all out efforts, you're going to be like constantly having to slow back down, wait for someone to come through, then you go around somebody with a stroller, and like, sometimes you might actually just want to open it up on the road, and you'd feel more at home with the cars if you had a little bit of space on the road. But there's no space on the road in Germany. That's the other side to the coin. So it's just like anything in life. You can't have everything all at once. Of course, there are roads that are wider, and there are roads that are pretty good to ride your bike on in the United States, but if you're not in the right area, and if you don't know your way around, and you end up on these poor choices of roads, or if you're in an area where there aren't very many options, then like, riding on the road is going to be miserable. There are super sketchy areas in the world to ride your bike on the road, and there are roads that are in really great condition that have barely any cars on them, is all I'm trying to say. The two sides of the coin being, you give up some freedom when you force that customer service, and sometimes you want to just be able to choose which side do you want. But usually the culture determines which you're going to get. That's pretty much the whole discussion I wanted to have with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, because I think this is kind of fun. I mean, it is not extreme. It's really a balanced kind of view. And in some ways, it's not as romantic to kind of pretend like, oh, this country's perfect, or anything is perfect, because everything has a downside. As soon as you have like a design for a chair, it's like, oh, that's a really good chair. Oh, what does it cost? That's a lot. Why is that? It's just a chair. All it does is hold you up. It's like, all right, well then get a super cheap chair. It's not going to look anything like that super expensive one. Or, whatever. It'll have a terrible environmental impact or something. There's always a downside or an upside. Or an upside and a downside. And usually, I think you get what I'm trying to say. But what I want to say about that is, this trade-off, this like romanticism, it's easy to pretend there's only one side to the coin. And I think that's where you get like, travel agency photos of like Tuscany or whatever. But yeah, so Tuscany, it's perfect. Who wouldn't want to go to Tuscany and live in Tuscany? And it's like, well, maybe retire there, but how are you going to make a living in Tuscany unless you're a wine farmer? It's not the most industrial area, which is why you love it. But, yeah, it's, Thailand, beautiful beaches, full of tourists, or not full of tourists, and not as cheap as you thought. It's like one or the other. But, I think me kind of breaking away from romanticism and looking at actually both sides of the coin, it could for some people be a turnoff, because it's like, I'm trying to watch something on YouTube full of extremes. I don't want to hear a balanced viewpoint. That's so boring. I don't want to hear real talk. Like, I want to hear something stimulating. Yeah, sorry if that's what you're looking for. I'm just trying to give you what's real here. And to me, that's the dopest. That's the best, the highest quality, first class content when it's real. But that's all three sides of the coin. You can't look at two sides of the coin and pretend it's real. It's not. There is a third side. There is an edge. It's even worse if you're only looking at one side. But that's it for today. And we'll see you in the next video. If you have suggestions for topics or questions, leaving those in the comments down below makes it real easy for me to find inspiration. Although I can find it without you, no offense. I can find more directed inspiration tailored to what you're interested in if you leave comments down below. Also, by hitting the like button, you really help the channel out because more people get to see the video. It will get boosted in their recommended videos search and just their homepage when they come up on YouTube if you hit the like button. So you can help them see the video by hitting the like button, and you can help me by getting them to see the video because, of course, for me, the economies of scale are better the more people see the one video. I'm sure that makes sense. So, YOLAMX, Universal Language Media Exchange, and our Society and Culture series is done for today. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Till the next one. Have a good time. Have a good life. Have a good dinner. Whatever it is you're doing. Till then, ta-ta.